The story behind Surah Al Fatiha. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to Din Story TV. You are in the right place where we explore the powerful story about the word of Allah. This is the story of a moment that shook the unseen world, a moment when something happened and the enemies of mankind trembled, a moment when the devils felt fear, a moment when Shaytan, the enemy of humanity, cried out in despair. It happened when a chapter of the Qur'an was revealed, not a very long chapter. Not a chapter filled with many rules, not a chapter filled with many stories, just 7 verses, 7 short verses. Yet those 7 verses carried a power so deep that Shaytan knew immediately what it meant. He knew something very important. He knew these verses would weaken his control over human hearts. This chapter is Surah Al Fatiha, the opening, the chapter that opens the Qur'an, the chapter that opens every prayer, the chapter that every Muslim recites again and again every single day. Every prayer, every rak'ah, morning, afternoon, evening, night. But many people recite it without stopping to think about what it truly means. Many people know the words, but they have not yet discovered the power inside them. Yet Shaytan knew that power the moment it was revealed, because Surah Al Fatiha is not just a chapter. It is a reminder. It is a guide. It is a conversation between the servant and the Creator. And that is why Shaytan feared it. Because when a believer understands Surah Al Fatiha, their heart becomes harder for Shaytan to control. The surah begins with the most powerful beginning. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, in the name of Allah, the most merciful, the most compassionate. These words are small, but they change everything. When a believer says Bismillah, they remember their Lord. They begin with Allah. They place their trust in Allah. And the moment the servant remembers their Lord, Shaytan loses his hold, because Shaytan wants humans to forget Allah. He wants people to live their lives without remembering their Creator. But Bismillah breaks that plan. Then the next verse comes, a verse filled with gratitude, a verse filled with truth. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alamin. All praise belongs to Allah, the Lord of all worlds. Think about these words. All praise belongs to Allah, not some praise, all praise, because everything good comes from Him. He is the Lord of all worlds, the world we see, and the world we do not see, the world of humans, the world of angels, the world of the unseen. Everything belongs to Him. When a believer remembers this, their heart becomes humble. And Shaytan hates humble hearts because pride is Shaytan's favorite weapon. Then Allah reminds us of 2 of His beautiful names. Ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, the most merciful, the most compassionate. 2 names filled with hope. 2 names that remind every believer of something important. No matter how many mistakes you have made, Allah's mercy is greater. No matter how far someone feels from Allah, His mercy is still open. Shaytan wants humans to feel hopeless. He whispers to them. He tells them their sins are too big. He tells them there is no way back. But these 2 names destroy that lie, because Allah's mercy is always greater. Then comes a verse that shakes every arrogant heart, a verse that reminds every human about the future. Malika Yawmiddin, master of the day of judgment, a day when everything hidden will be revealed, a day when every action will return to its owner, every lie, every injustice, every secret, nothing will be forgotten, nothing will be lost, and Allah is the master of that day. When a believer remembers this, they become careful, they think before they act. They remember that one day they will stand before their Lord, and Shaytan hates that reminder. Because Shaytan wants humans to think there are no consequences, but Surah Al Fatiha reminds them that there are. Then comes one of the most powerful promises a human can make, a promise from the servant to the Creator. Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in. You alone we worship and you alone we ask for help. These words break the chains of Shaytan, because Shaytan wants humans to depend on everything except Allah. He wants them to depend on money, on power, on people, on anything but their Creator. But this verse destroys that trap. The believer says clearly, we worship you alone, and we ask you alone for help. No idols, no partners, no false gods. Only Allah. Then comes the request every believer repeats many times each day. A request for guidance, a request every human needs. Idina es-sirat al-mustaqim, guide us to the straight path. Not just any path, the straight path. The path that leads to truth, the path that leads to success, the path that leads to paradise. Because without Allah's guidance, humans become lost. Then the surah continues. Sirat al-lazina an'amta alayhim. The path of those you have blessed, the path of the righteous, the path of the prophets, the path of those who believed and stayed firm. Then Allah warns us about 2 other paths, paths that lead to destruction. Gayril magdubi alayhim, not the path of those who earned your anger, and not the path of those who lost the truth. Walad Dalin, nor those who went astray, because history has shown humanity both paths. Some people knew the truth but rejected it. Some people became lost and followed the wrong way. And Surah Al Fatiha asks Allah to protect us from both. That is why this surah is so powerful. It contains the foundation of faith, praise, mercy, accountability, worship, guidance, 7 verses, but inside them is the message of the entire Qur'an. And that is why Shaytan cried when it was revealed. Because he knew something many people forget. He knew that when a believer truly understands Surah Al Fatiha, his influence becomes weaker. Because Surah Al Fatiha reminds the believer who their Lord is, who they worship, who they rely on, and where they are going. And every time a Muslim recites it with understanding, Shaytan loses his grip a little more. 7 verses, yet they carry the foundation of faith. This is the secret of Surah Al Fatiha, the chapter that opens the Qur'an, the chapter that opens every prayer, and the chapter that once made Shaytan cry. Subscribe, like, share, and support this channel.